Welcome to the Shift Podcast. Real talk, real people, real change. Hi, everyone. Hello. So, welcome back to the Shift, where we challenge the narratives, unpack the chaos, and shine a light on the systems shaping our lives. I am your host, Jessica Sanchez, and today's episode is not for the faint of heart. We're talking about something that's been sitting at the edge of America's collective consciousness for years, but it rarely gets addressed with the seriousness that it deserves. And that's Donald Trump's mental health and what it means when someone with alarming psychological patterns holds or even once held the most powerful position in the world. And before we begin and we dive in, let me be clear. This isn't about the left or the right or red or blue. This is about what we're witnessing in real time and the implications of ignoring deeply concerning behavior when it comes from someone in power. So, what are we watching, really, guys? I mean, what is going on? So, let's start with what we've just seen in the past few months. Donald Trump has referred to himself as a victim, right, of a witch hunt. And we've been seeing him refer to himself as a victim of this notorious witch hunt that he's been speaking about for years, And him saying he's like our retribution and claimed he's the only one who can save America. He's also posted rants at 3 a.m. calling prosecutors animals and suggested that his enemies be dealt with violently at that. And if you read between the lines, psychologists call this delusions of grandeur. And that's a belief that one is uniquely destined for greatness, power, or even divinity. Pair with that, it comes with paranoia, impulsivity, and narcissistic rage. And you have a pattern that's just not erratic, it's dangerous. And yet millions continue to share it on like it's just Trump being Trump. So let's get deeper into this, right? Narcissism means authoritarianism. Now let's be honest, right? People like to throw around words like narcissist a lot, sometimes even unfairly, but psychologists defined narcissistic personality disorder by traits such as an inflated sense of self-importance, a deep need for admiration, lack of empathy, and intense reactions to perceived criticism. Doesn't this sound familiar? We've watched him, right, belittle war heroes, mock people with disabilities, and even threaten to jail political rivals. That is not politics. That's a man with unchecked power, fueled by pathology, and when narcissism blends with authoritarianism and authoritarian tendencies, you get to see what scholars have called strongman syndrome. And this strongman syndrome is the need to dominate, to punish, and to rewrite reality. This is why we saw the events of January 6th unfold. It wasn't by accident, but it was by design. So this is when we're gonna get real, right? When we're really gonna get into it. And denial is a national security risk. And here's the scariest part. We, as a society, we've normalized this. We've treated these behaviors as colorful or even strategic. But imagine a pilot displaying this level of delusion, or even a surgeon refusing to accept medical facts. We pulled them off their jobs. Yet, when it's a former president, or even the current president as we have him now, we hesitate. And why is that? Well, because America doesn't know how to talk about mental health and power at the same time, and it's costing us. So what now, right? You're asking yourselves, well, this might not be or isn't about diagnosing Trump from afar. And we can say it's a pattern of recognition. So the same way we recognize when a family member is spiraling or when a friend is in crisis, we need to apply that lens to public figures figures, especially those with real influence. Trump's mental state is a public issue because his behaviors affect and is affecting democracy as a whole, public safety, and our national identity. And if we keep turning away, we are complicit in this harm. And that's something that we really have to analyze and that we have to think about, right? Because having a man at 3 a.m., um, you know, throwing rants, right? Especially the most powerful man in the world, like Donald Trump, that is concerning. So let's go into those 3 a.m. rants, and I'm not exaggerating. We're talking about posts like, social media posts made in the middle of the night where Donald Trump launches into rambling, rage-filled attacks on political enemies, media outlets, prosecutors, or even late-night comedians. These aren't just off-the-cuff remarks, right? They're obsessive, they're unfiltered, and even completely detached from reality. And just one example, this is not because there's so many, but let's just talk about even the one on April 4th, 2023 at 3 a.m. where he posted to Truth Social calling the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg a degenerate psychopath who should be jailed for indicting him. He followed that with a rant about the rigged justice system and claimed that millions were protesting in his support, which simply was not true. And now to think about that, right? A man who holds the nuclear codes of America is awake at 3 a.m. in the morning, alone, stewing in his thoughts, posting violent, inflammatory statements to a platform of millions, of people. And psychologists would flag this behavior as symptomatic of disordered sleep patterns, obsessive rumination, impulsivity, and potentially hypermania or paranoia. But instead of concern, he gets attention. He gets headlines, reposts, and cheers from loyalists. This isn't strength, right? This is emotional dysregulation on full display. And it speaks to a complete lack of internal restraints, which is terrifying. And someone who has even sought power again as well. And it's just really, concerning for us to see this in real time. And we're seeing it more and more as time goes on. And there's various instances. Guys, right? We're not just watching political theater. We're watching a man unravel in public in a country that's grown disturbingly uncomfortable with it. Right? We've become so desensitized with this behavior. And Trump's behavior isn't just erratic, it's a symptom of something deeper. A political culture that rewards chaos, punishes truth, and confuses domination with leadership. The 3 a.m. rants, the courtroom meltdowns in the past, the persecution complexes, they're just not isolated outbursts. They're a pattern, and a pattern that tells a story. The question isn't whether Trump has a diagnosable mental health disorder. The question is, why do we keep pretending like this is normal? We demand mental fitness in every critical profession. Think about that. Pilots, doctors, first responders. But when it comes to the presidency, we're deciding to lower the bar. We laugh, we scroll, we move on. That's not leadership. Is learned helplessness. And here's the truth, right? We don't take the psychological fitness of our leaders seriously. We endanger democracy itself when we are silent. Being silent is being complicit, and denial is surrendering. It's time we stop calling this a strategy or whatever it is that he's trying to do and start calling it for what it is, a crisis of leadership and a test of collective courage, right? So, guys, power without accountability is a threat. So what do? We need to stop pretending, as I stated, that this is normal. We name what we see, We demand the media and elected officials to stop covering for this dysfunction and start confronting it. That goes for Republicans as much, I know, as a Democrat, which we are seeing some misalignments, but we need to keep confronting this straight on. And we have to educate ourselves and others, not just about policies, but about the psychology of power. Because if we don't hold these unstable leaders accountable, we'll keep electing them. And what comes next? Chaos. Thanks for joining me today. If this episode challenged you, share it, talk about it. We need more courage and fewer euphemisms in this country. And you can find the sources for today's episode, like links to my books, Democracy Unveiled and Breaking the Cycle, and more on jessicasanchez.org. And don't forget, we've got tools, resources, and a whole movement ready to back you up. Until next time, stay sharp, stay grounded, and stay ready to shift.